Let's go to centre court. Steffi Graf about to make her second appearance. We join commentators John Newcombe and Betsy Nagelson.
Thanks, Ken. This is Clare Wood from Great Britain serving in the opening game. She's played a pretty good opening game. Started off with a double fault, same as Kirley Sharp did yesterday against Steffi. But served an ace at 15 all and then had a game point. Missed a volley. Now she's down break point.
Deuce.
And Betsy, it'll be a great start for young Clare Wood in front of her hometown British public to get away and win the first game.
Well, she certainly would love to have a great performance, play well. She was very positive about being out here in the center court. It's the first singles match she's ever been on the center court for.
Well, she's got another game point. She has played one mixed doubles out there.
She was out here a couple of years ago with Nick Brown in a mixed doubles match. And this was the way that she had said she was going to try to play. She was going to come into the net as much as she could, be very positive, very aggressive, and she's certainly done that in this opening game.
Deuce.
Are you going to commercial after this?
Advantage, Miss Graf.
A booming forehand of Steffi Graf years ago, about 5-6 years ago. Pam Shriver said it was the most lethal weapon in the game.
Game, Miss Graf.
And that's disappointing for Clare Wood then. She had 2 game points, Betsy, so Graf away to a good start.
First game.
Yes, and Clare Wood actually had a bit of luck. She's a wild card entry into this year's championships, which is fair enough. Her ranking has actually gone up a little bit. She's 104 now. She just missed getting into the main draw, needed a wild card, and she was due to play Kamiko Date, who's ranked 22 in the world and in fact was very close to being seeded here. And Kamiko Date had to pull out with a knee injury, and a lucky loser went in. We have a look at her highest ranking. It's 104. So Clare Wood was able to pull herself together and play someone she didn't expect to play.
Born in Zululand in South Africa, resides in London. And there's her prize money for this year, 36,000 plus, and 292 career, which isn't a bad effort.
Not at all. Clare is a solid player. She's had some good wins in her career. She's playing fairly well as of late.
Love.
The last couple of years, you have the feeling that in these matches, Graf tends to come into the net a little bit more than she was, say, 5 or 6 years ago, and using these matches to get volleying practice.
Well, I think in the years that Pavel Slazel coached Steffi Graf, which, were 5 years there where he took her to the #1 ranking in the world, where she has been 1 or 2 since 1987. And he was trying to convince her to play aggressively and to use some of her ground strokes to get in. And it just wasn't an idea that stood well with her. Now, with Heinz Guntart, she's been working with him for the last year and a half. He's getting her to do the same thing, but she's really more committed to it. I think she's finding herself more able to do it. She's more aggressive in her mind.
Love.
I get the impression, John, that she's really enjoying playing aggressively. She's such a fantastic athlete, and there isn't any shot that she cannot hit, and she's never really been able to exploit some of her wonderful athleticism.
First service.
But it's not something she's been able to change quickly, and it's taken her a couple of years to really believe in her abilities to play attacking tennis.
Oh, there's a beautiful controlled topspin lob off the two-handed backhand. We'll give her a little shot in the arm, a boost of confidence.
40-15.
And Graf with the approach shot, nice and deep, down the middle of the court.
Game is Graf.
Now
That's certainly a weapon that Graf has, isn't it?
I was just going to say, John, now that she's
leads 2
thinking
games to
more
none.
attacking, more aggressive, she's actually getting a lot more free points with the serve because she's getting more pace on it, because she's actually following it in. And she is serving bigger than she ever has.
2-love to Graf in the first set. Yes, well played from behind the baseline too.
Good, solid ground strokes we've already seen from Clare
15
Wood.
love.
This forehand is a little bit short, but good stroke from Clare Wood. She's very solid off the ground.
$30.
It's not a bad service action from Clare Wood. It's very correct. She's got a nice ball toss. Weight tends to lean forward a little bit too soon sometimes. It causes her to drag the ball down into the net.
First service.
Oh, that's a pity. That was a
30-15.
setup, and she didn't look that comfortable on the backhand volley then.
No, that's right, John. In her opening service game, that was the side she made 3 errors on. If Clare Wood actually was a little bit more gifted up at the net, she would be a very, very, solid tennis player. I think her results would have always done much better because I think she likes to think aggressively. She's an attacking game.
Yes, well played. She saw Graf moving towards the backhand side.
40-15.
They look easy, those shots, but sometimes they can be the tough ones because you're working with no pace.
Game
Well
is
done. And Clare Wood gets a nice round of applause there from the British public. She trails 2-1 in the first set.
Graf leads 2 games to 1 in the first set.
In a court, Wimbledon, Steffi Graf about to serve. She's leading 2-1 in the first set against Clare Wood from Great Britain. And you can see the centre court is bathed in sunshine. We've
15
had
love.
3 beautiful days of weather here, all keeping our fingers crossed.
Certainly wasn't the case in the last week. Last week in Eastbourne, there were 2 days completely washed out with rain. The players were forced to play 2 matches in a day.
$30 love. $40 love.
She doesn't waste any time, Graf, does she? She's ready to just keep going.
First service. 40-15. Game is Graf.
Well, not a good drop shot there from Graf, but she got away with it, and I think Clare would have been a bit disappointed with the way she answered that then. So 3-1 to Graf in the first set. And Betsy, the incident yesterday with Steffi Graf, would that upset her out there today, do you think, or she just put it behind her?
Well, I think she's very good at putting things behind her. She certainly had a lot of distractions in the last couple of years in her life, and she's dealt with them so well. And I just think it was a huge shock to see this same guy again who had distracted her at the French Open, and certainly a guy that has been on her, sort of on her trail over the last couple of years.
15 love.
Yes, I think he was caught parking outside a house as well, wasn't he?
Yes, and spotted by Steffi's father, and so he's a guy that's been sort of hanging around Steffi, and he's a bit, you know, first he says he's a big fan of Steffi's, and then now he's accusing Steffi for being at blame for the stabbing of Monica Seles. So, you know, Steffi's very worried about this guy, and she was very surprised to see him again.
Oh, nice point. The ball being moved all over the court. That's good tennis.
Very good tennis and some very hard hitting from Clare Wood, which she does equally well off both sides. And Steffi just able to take this ball just early enough and get it short cross court, so Clare Wood had no chance to get to that.
You mentioned Monica a while ago. Do you hear anything there about when she might be back?
Well, John, I'm not sure that she's really sure when she'll be able to get back. I know she's not had a racket in her hand yet. The injury itself was much more severe and serious than first anticipated, and I think anyone else thought it was.
Some nerve damage?
Certainly muscle damage and tissue damage, and she has tried to swing a tennis racket once, and it was so painful that there's just no way. So she wants to be completely 100% recovered, and she's being very... I know she's being very good about her rehab, and that's something she just doesn't want to come back too soon. And it's such a shame because, you know, Monica Seles has really had such a difficult year, and both the French Open and Wimbledon just haven't felt the same without her presence.
First service.
Special welcome to our viewers from Adelaide to centre court here at Wimbledon. Steffi Graf down this end of the court, playing against Clare Wood from Great Britain. It's 3-1 to Graf in the first set and 30 all.
40-30.
And Wood now has a chance to get another game. She actually had 2 game points on a first service game before losing it.
Deuce.
That's a difficult volley to play. She had a good serve, got in quickly, and the ball jammed her. Couldn't quite improvise enough to safely play the volley.
Advantage, Miss Wood.
It's playing the right type of game, I think, keeping the pressure on Graf, coming in all the time, making Graf win the points.
Great return again from Steffi. This is the thing she does so well, and it's so difficult to play second serves into Graf because she has the big forehand, opens up the court. Clare Wood did a good job to even get to that one. So back to deuce.
Advantage, Miss Graf.
Would Clare be serve volleying against other players all the time, or would she stay back a little more?
I certainly on this surface she would serve volley. On a hard court, certainly a slower court, she does not serve in volley every time. But I think she's very good at, on the grass, I think she understands how to play on this surface.
Well, the pressure of having to serve a second serve to Graf's forehand, it got to her. Graf now has a second break and leads 4-1 in the first set.
Miss Graf leads 4-1.
Probably the best footwork in the game, I think, there, Betsy. We're having a look at, quick look at Graf's footwork as we came back. The way she bounces around, it's lovely to watch, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. She moves so well. It's always, that and her forehand have always been two of her greatest assets, and now I think we're beginning to really see a much more, you know, versatile and talented Steffi Graf.
15 love.
I was listening to an interview with her this morning, and what I loved to hear was her saying how much she loved the game of tennis and how much she loved and enjoyed playing. And that was great, because 2 years ago she wasn't a very happy camper out there.
15 all.
And I also think the history of the game has been something that's always appealed to her, and she takes great interest in learning some of the past champions, especially as it relates to the great tradition here at Wimbledon.
30-15.
That's something that, sorry John, that I think Steffi's really improved upon as well, is the fact she can really mix her serve up much better now. That wide serve of hers is much improved over what she was ever able to do in the past.
40-15.
It's so effective on this surface if you can get the ball to drop short and swing it out wide and move in behind it, because you've got the whole court open.
Game is Graf.
So Graf winning her serves pretty comfortably and putting in some very good serves there. She's
Graf
got the
leads 5-1
lead in this first set, and it's incredible when you look at, she's 24 years of age, Steffi, and she's been a pro since, I think, 1982. It's 11 years and she's been a pro.
10 years ago was her first Wimbledon, actually, when she was on her 14th birthday, lost in the last round of the qualifying. And it was only 5 years later that she was holding up the trophy for the first time.
Oh, that's a nice backhand approach there, and certainly showing a tendency that when she gets the short ball in the backhand to play the slice approach shot. And as you said, Betsy, Heinz Gundhardt has worked on her with that shot.
I'm sure Heinz does deserve and will get a lot of the credit, but it certainly started with Pavel Slazal, who also encouraged her and tried to get her to play that way. But because it wasn't her nature, it certainly took a fair amount of time for her to believe in the fact that she can do it successfully.
15-30.
Clare Wood's played a fair amount of tennis this year. She had to play the qualifying in the first 5 tournaments and actually did qualify for all of them, starting down in Australia at the beginning of the year.
Oh, well done.
Good fast court player, Clare Wood, as we've seen her over and over
30-all.
serve and volley and come up with some good volleys like that one.
A lot more comfortable on the forehand volley than the backhand. That was the occasion where it looked to me like Clare's weight got through way too early. The serve was going a couple of metres wide of the centre line.
40-30.
Clare had a good win just after going to Australia this year. She had to qualify for Auckland the week after the Australian Open and beat Sabine Hack in the first round, who's been having herself a very good year. Her best surface, Sabine Hack, would be on a slower clay court, but still it was a good win for Clare.
First service.
And then a couple of weeks later, Clare qualified for a big tournament in Indian Wells, the Everett Matrix, and beat Fairbank Nidafer there in the first round. Ended up losing to Sakova in the third round, so she's had a couple of good wins this year. She's looking like an extremely natural volleyer up there, very quick. What do you think that smile meant?
Well, I think that Steffi really enjoyed that point. Thought, gee, I'm a little bit of a net player up here. This is sort of fun up here.
Yeah, you can just see it on her face. She's really getting to where she's going to find this really a whole new area for her to continue to grow in.
That's a pretty true statement. It's scary. She can get a lot better.
Yeah.
Out. Advantage, Miss Wood.
Now, this would be nice for Wood to be able to get this, because the two service games that she's lost in this set, she has had game points in each of them. So what a pity if she were to lose 3 service games and have game points in each one of them. See if you can get a good first serve in here.
Deuce.
Looks easy, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Oh, yes, well played. Looked like it was going to hook over her head, but really got up well to that one.
Advantage, Miss Wood.
Again, showing good skills up at the net. See, the balance is good, the split step, and now she's moving forward, but catches herself in time and plays a good, solid overhead.
Well done, Clare Wood. Cold serve. She trails 5-2 in the first set. There's Clare Wood just in your picture there briefly. She is out on the centre court against Steffi Graf, and Steffi is about to serve for the first set, leading 5-2. This is live action from centre court. Oh, yes. Well, this is as aggressive as I've seen Steffi Graf in one of these early matches, moving into the net, and I think it's great to see her do it. Get some good practice up there at the net.
And it's looking so natural for her, and something that she's done all her life. So she played a couple of those type of backhand volleys in her match yesterday against Kierley Sharp, which she won 6-love, 6-love, and I thought she played just very aggressively when came to the net on far more occasions than she would have in the past.
30 love.
Hitting against Graf's forehand, it just comes harder than most of the other girls hit their forehand?
Well, she hits the ball very hard. It's a very heavy shot, too, and she's so quick with it. She can vary the spin a little bit. Her best forehand
40 love.
is the one that lands in the middle of the court, and she can move around and hit her inside-out forehand. It's the forehand on the run that she isn't able to control or hit quite as hard as Steffi Graf has a set point.
Oh, yes, that was a good backhand.
Game first set, Miss
Nice
Graf.
and deep, plenty of pace.
6
So
games to 2.
Graf, a good first set there, and it looked like a lot of fun, and she's really enjoying herself out there, 6-2. Well, what an afternoon we have for you this afternoon. Pete Sampras against Jamie Morgan, and Jamie Morgan got through to the semis of Queen's Club last week. A lot of people, including myself, think that he's going to give Pete Sampras a very
Second
tough
set, Miss
time.
Wood to serve.
And Betsy, Liz Smiley against Jennifer Capriati.
Yes, and, you know, it's a great match for Liz. Liz definitely knows how to play on this surface, enjoys this surface, and, you know, I think she can give Jennifer Capriati, who's not as comfortable on this surface, a real good shot.
$15 love.
And then Sandon Stolly against Michael Stick, number 6 seed there, and we're hoping that Sandon will play a good match. His grass court is his best surface, and I think he'll make Stick work for it, but that'll be out on court 1, and he's going to have his work cut out for him, Sandon, because Stick looked in great form the other day.
30 love.
Oh, I think was it 2 years ago we saw Sandon against McEnroe out here, win a set against him on centre court and played a super match, so he really knows how to play on grass. Graf coming over the backhand passing shot here.
15.
And again, a good first serve. This backhand volley wasn't bad, but Steffi, and this is a shot we've talked about over the years, how she practiced it and never uses it in a match. And now as well, she's beginning to feel really comfortable in her matches using this shot. She's been working on it for the last several years. She's really shown great hands, Steffi, when she's at the net. Very soft hands you need to play that kind of a volley. And we've already seen some very firm, penetrating volleys.
Second service. $40-30.
Another one of these games that where she's got to game point first. You can just sort of imagine what she's saying to herself. Come on, let's take advantage of these game points. Games against Steffi Graf are precious things. That's a good shot. Saw she was back well behind the baseline. Instead of trying the approach shot, came up with a chip. So good variety there. Now, Betsy, with Wood's second serve, she's serving a kick second serve, but having awful trouble getting over to Graf's backhand side. So it's almost a kick slice serve.
Right, and so it's sort of bouncing and almost moving into the forehand side of Graf as opposed to landing more out in the corner and kicking outside the court.
Advantage, Miss Wood.
And it's not a bad idea every once in a while when you have to play a second serve to just throw one, especially with the slice action that Clare has. She could actually slice one up the center of the court, and Steffi's looking to hit a forehand, but she's more prepared to move around it.
Well, a little wry smile there. And really battling, isn't she?
She played a pretty good volley. She was looking for the forehand to go cross-court, so she had actually moved not only a step forward, but a step to her right, and wasn't anticipating the lob at all.
Advantage, Miss Wood.
25 years of age, Clare Wood. She turned pro, I think, back in 1986. So she's had a fair bit of experience out there on the circuit.
First service.
Yeah, she's just not getting enough work on the first volley. I mean, I know that was a tough shot, the half volley, but it would have been a lot tougher for Graf as she hit it back deeper. The lucky breaks you need.
Yep.
Advantage,
And actually,
Miss
it's
Wood.
one of the serves that I mentioned earlier. She got the serve out wide. And Steffi likes that forehand cross court and then lucky net court because Steffi certainly would have been on the forehand up the line. So another game point.
No. Couldn't quite get the forehand volley wide enough, and Steffi's just having a look up there at the wind. It's getting a little swirly.
Advantage, Miss Graf. Game, Miss Graf. First game, second set. First set, Miss Graf. $15 love.
Well, Steffi Graf seeming right in control in this second match of her championship campaign. We've just lost, for the moment, contact with John Newcombe and Betsy Nagelson. They'll be back with us in just a few moments' time, but we can just sit here and watch one of the great tennis ladies in action as she goes about her business.
30 love.
One thing Steffi did say after that incident yesterday with the German man in the sidelines, that it only took her about 5-10 minutes to get her concentration back again. Steffi apologises for a little bit of luck. Don't forget, we've got Sandon Stolle coming up. Got a big ask in front of him.
Game is Graf.
Steffi Graf leads 2-love in the second set. And of course, Jamie Morgan up against Pete Sampras, the #1 ranked player for Wimbledon. We've got those matches on Wide World of Sports this evening on what will be a great day's tennis. Lots of Aussies in action, and we'll keep you updated on all the major scores. Steffi Graf won the first set 6-2, leads 2-love in the second.
Love. All.
That great forehand of Steffi does so much damage and has carried her to 4 Wimbledon crowns. Maybe she can make it another one here this year. Oh, absolutely brilliant. One of her favourite shots on the run. Really laid into this forehand.
15-30.
It was a nice scrambling shot by her opponent, but look at that.
All.
We hope to bring you back with our commentators John Newcombe and Betsy Nagelson, but for some reason or other they've had a line fault which we're trying to rectify. We watch Steffi Graf on centre court.
(40-30). Game is wood.
Steffi Graf leads 2-1 in the second at the championships.
Miss Graf leads 2 games.
Championships men's singles there. An update. Patrick Graf against Todd Nelson on the first, on the second, and the third. Well done. Oh, a lovely little scrambling shot, and I'm joined right now by Tony Trabert.
I think Claire's done a very good job. She's works real hard. She chases down everything. Good job there to get to that drop shot.
And another update, unfortunately Rachel McQuillan has been tipped out of Wimbledon, second round.
You know, one of the mistakes I think some of these players make is another.
Nicole Provis has been eliminated, which is a little bit of a surprise. Was expected to do a little bit better today, but that's the way it goes. And in fact, not a good day so far for the Aussies, but we'll keep you updated. Maybe it'll improve as the day goes on.
I started to say that I think a mistake that some of these players make here is another. Paul Kildare lost 6-3 in the third. They go into the corners on Steffi Graf when they're put on the defensive, and that opens up their court. If they'd come back down the center toward her, she'd have fewer angles, and it would be a little easier for them to cover the court. The instinct is always to hit it away from your opponent, but sometimes that's not the best play.
The first serve's not operating as well as it should be right now, Tony, but she's obviously playing well enough to not to worry about it too much.
Right. Nicely done, good touch. Another play on grass that works is a short approach. Like if you cut that one real short, then it's so low when your opponent gets to it, they have to try to hit up to you, and they can't take much of a swing at it.
Game is drawn.
Well, an ace, and another good first serve there, but it hasn't been consistent as Steffi would like it. As I say, she's under no pressure, so I guess she plays herself in, and she's got a long way to go yet.
I think that that's absolutely the case. She's totally relaxed. I don't think she feels threatened at all. And as a result, she's been hitting some topspin backhands, which have worked for her. She's gone to the net some, which we feel she should do more frequently.
First service.
Claire's done very, very well. I mean, after seeing what Steffi did to Kirralie Sharp yesterday, you'd be very, very nervous coming out against a lady who's obviously at the top of her game.
Right, and once they settle down, get rid of the nerves and so forth, which she's obviously done now, she's doing a nice job.
And once again, we're joined by John Newcomb and Betsy Nagelson. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. And apologies to everyone back there. Something.
15 all.
Thank you, Ken and Tony, for filling in, and especially Tony Trabert, who had to do a race down the stairs and across to the studio. And of course, the first point he was calling was a drop shot that someone was running to, and he sounded like he'd been running to it. Well, Clare Wood, she really is doing a good job here of hanging in and making an interesting match. She hasn't played a lot of unforced errors, has she, Betsy? She's made Steffi work for the points.
You know, that's exactly right, John. She's played, besides playing very smart, she's actually executed well, too. And as we've been mentioning, these service games of hers, every single service game that she has lost, she has had game points.
Yes, just a block forehand return of serve there, using the pace off the first serve to generate her own pace.
So 2 break points down now for another break here in the second set.
Game is Graf.
And some more aggressive play from Steffi Graf as she goes away to a 4-1 lead and 2 service breaks in the second set.
Miss Graf leads 4 games to 1, second set.
Steffi Graf, she's got 2 service breaks in the second set against Clare Wood from Great Britain. And that last service game that Wood lost was the first time she didn't have game points herself.
15 love.
Been on court for 55 minutes now. There's a nice return, and Wood showing that she's not ready to just roll over in this match.
15 all.
Right across the plate there for Clare Wood on her two-handed backhand, which is the wing that she prefers to hit. Very good backhand.
15-30.
Takes the ball early, and she's got variety off that side. We saw her earlier play a two-handed backhand topspin lob.
$30 all.
Graf has good timing today on the slice serve, the one going away to the forehand side on the first and second court. And that's a very effective serve if you can do it efficiently on grass. I like the way Wood's standing inside the baseline, threatening. And
30-40.
she's done that a number of times, stood inside the baseline, threatened the second serve, but then she doesn't follow through with it. She moves back to behind the baseline.
So Clare Wood has a break point here. And Clare not happy at all with the non-call.
The one on the baseline or the serve?
The one on the baseline. This forehand approach here goes very deep. And Clare...
Did look as if it could have been out, didn't it?
It looked from our position, which is no way we can tell, but nevertheless a break point saved. And again, Clare Wood moves forward, and not only that, it cuts off the angle off this wide slice serve.
Advantage, Miss Graf. Deuce. First service.
You can see how far to the right there Wood is standing, trying to block out the serve out to the forehand. Called a fault. I don't know why Wood was complaining.
Out.
That one was definitely over the baseline. So a chance for a service break here. And the hometown crowd giving their girl a little round of encouragement. She'll get a big round of applause if she can break serve.
Deuce.
Yeah, but it's good to see that Steffi's keeping on with the serve and volley, because she got into a bit of trouble in this game by losing a couple of points from serving and volleying.
Exactly. It's very different to see Steffi Graf following that first serve in.
Game is Graf.
And another good serve there, but a well-fought game, that one, and Graf moves away to a 5-1 lead in the second set.
Leads 5 games to 1, second set.
And you see the scoreboard there. She's won the first set 6-2. Exactly 1 hour on court now. Not a lot of people can play 1 hour with Steffi Graf out on centre court.
No, in fact,
it's a good effort.
And one of the things that most people talk about when referring to Steffi Graf's matches is, basically how long they lasted.
I kept Steffi Graf out on court for over 1 hour. That's certainly a part of Wood's game that I would suggest she worked on, was getting a little bit more consistent depth on the second serve, and it looks as though she can serve the kick serve but doesn't have a lot of control over it. That and the backhand volley, I'd say, Betsy.
I think those are the two areas of her game that have let her down here. Of course, it's never easy trying to hit a second serve into the Graf backhand because she doesn't give you very much space.
Love 30.
You get the feeling that Graf has had enough out there. She wants to finish the match, pouring the pressure on. Got some super tennis coming up for you. Pete Sampras against Australia's young Jamie Morgan, who's playing so well the last month or so, especially over here on the grass. Got to the semi-final of Queen's Club and almost took out Michael Stiek in the semi-final there. Whoops.
Love 40.
As Kirralie Sharp said to me yesterday, she says, that's just a real buzz out there, the electricity of the crowd and the centre court here at Wimbledon.
First service.
Oh, that's really funny. Well, that'll give a lot of you people at home a lot of heart.
15-40.
Steffi Graf hit a smash that bounced before it reached the net.
Well, she was being aggressive. I'm not sure I've ever seen Steffi hit a shot quite like that.
I haven't seen many people hit a shot like that.
Game, set and match, Miss Graf. 2 sets to love. 6-2, 6-1.
Well, there it is, 6-2, 6-1 to the #1 seed. And Betsy, how does Graf's draw look to you from now on?
Well, John, Steffi will next play Helen Kalesi, a very talented baseliner from Canada who put out Rachel McQuillan, who I was a bit surprised. I thought Rachel might come through being a more experienced grass court player, but in my opinion, Steffi's got herself another tough section of the draw with perhaps meeting Jennifer Capriati, so I think that's a good match to look forward to.
Yes, I think Capriati could really test her. So Steffi Graf moves through to the third round here at the championships, and we'll be back with some more great action from Wimbledon after this break.